Hello everyone, now we will continue following the story of One Piece. In the previous episode, after learning Nami's story, the villagers of Kakoyasi and Luffy's group went to Arlong's house to settle the score. When they arrived, Luffy didn't wait for them to open the gate politely. He punched through the gate to enter. And when he got inside, he shouted, asking which one of you is Arlong. As soon as he saw his face, Luffy walked toward Arlong, ignoring the guards, and then stretched his arm for a powerful punch, sending Arlong flying. With that one punch, Luffy taught Arlong a lesson for daring to make Nami cry. Seeing this, Arlong's underlings rushed towards Luffy, but Sanji welcomed them each with a kick. After that, Usopp and Zoro joined them. As for the Kakoyasi villagers, Johnny and Yasaku stopped them from joining the fight, fearing they would get hurt. Looking back inside, one of Arlong's men, Hachai, came out and said that to deal with Luffy's crew, Arlong didn't need to waste his strength. Then he shouted for something else from the sea to come and help fight. That something looked very fierce, just its movement caused everything to shake. When it emerged from the water, it was actually the sea cow that Luffy and Sanji had beaten up the other day, giving it a lump on its head. And as soon as it saw Luffy and Sanji, the sea cow wanted to turn back, but Arlong provoked it, saying it was weak for being afraid of humans. To not lose face, the sea cow turned its head back towards Luffy's crew. At that moment, Luffy told his crew to let him handle it, and the move Luffy used then was the pinwheel move from Genzo's hat. With that one move, Luffy was able to defeat all of Arlong's small fry underlings and also threw the sea cow far away. Now Arlong was left with 3 strong underlings, including him, that's 4. Luffy's crew also had 4 members. Then Hachai the octopus man shot ink at Luffy's crew, but the shot only hit Luffy because he couldn't dodge. The reason was because of the pinwheel move Luffy used earlier, which got his feet stuck in the ground, unable to pull them out. Then Hachai lifted a large piece of rock to smash Luffy, but Sanji used his leg to help block it. As for Arlong, seeing that Luffy couldn't pull his feet out, he went and pried Luffy up, throwing him into the sea. Seeing this, Sanji wanted to jump into the water to help Luffy, but Zoro stopped him because if they went into the water, they probably couldn't win against the fishmen. Their best option was to defeat the fishmen on land first, then they could go into the water to help Luffy. In the battle on land, Zoro paired up against Hachai, Sanji against Kirubai, while Usopp had already run far away from Chu. At that time, Arlong was just sitting and watching, not doing anything yet. As for Luffy, Nijiko and Genzo, the village policemen, were trying to rescue him. Let's look at the fight between Zoro and Hachai first. At this time, Zoro hasn't recovered from the wound he got fighting Hawkeye, and during his fight with Hawkeye, 2 of his swords were also broken. At that moment, Zoro suddenly collapsed. Sanji, distracted looking at him, forgot about his opponent and was sent flying with 1 hit. After that, not long after, Zoro managed to stand up again and shouted for Johnny and Yasaku to lend him their swords for a while. After having enough swords, Zoro used his special technique to wound Hachai. At that moment, Hachai didn't give up and used his special technique to counterattack Zoro. But unfortunately, Hachai couldn't defeat Zoro. After dealing with Hachai, Zoro was very weak. At that moment, Kirubai wanted to take the opportunity to attack Zoro from behind, but luckily, Sanji came to help him in time. Both Zoro and Sanji knew that Luffy couldn't last much longer in the water, so Sanji jumped into the water to help Luffy, which made Kirubai very happy, and he jumped in after him. When he got to the bottom, Sanji was a bit relieved because he saw Nijiko and Genzo had managed to pull Luffy's head above the water. But at this point, Luffy was still unconscious. Then, Kirubai arrived and started beating Sanji badly. Because they were in the water, Kirubai had the advantage. Sanji knew this too and tried to swim upwards, but Kirubai intercepted him and held him down, not letting him go up. At that moment, Sanji cleverly thought of blowing air into Kirubai's gills and was able to free himself and get back to the surface. After getting to the surface, it was Sanji's turn. Before, Sanji couldn't fight well because he was too busy worrying about Zoro and Luffy. For now, he had nothing else to worry about, so Kirubai got beaten by Sanji. Looking over at Usopp, he was running from Chu like a game of hide and seek, and sometimes managed to hit Chu back with his shot. Finally, when Chu found him, Chu unleashed a big attack, making it impossible for Usopp to run. Then, as Chu was about to finish Usopp off, Usopp used his last shot, a fire shot, to burn Chu, then followed up with a hammer to successfully defeat him. Back to Sanji and Zoro. Both of them had now been knocked down by Arlong. Arlong was really strong. He could injure them just by throwing water from his palms. At that moment, Nami arrived, and Arlong gave her a choice. If she still agreed to work for him, he would spare all the villagers of Kakoyasi, but he would kill Luffy's crew. When Nami thought about it, that wasn't a choice at all, because she could never abandon Luffy's crew. So, both Nami and the Kakoyasi villagers decided to risk their lives to fight Arlong. Just as the fight was about to begin, Luffy woke up, but his body was still stuck under the water. So Sanji jumped into the water to free Luffy. He had about 30 seconds before Arlong would kill Zoro and then jump into the water to kill him too. At that moment, Usopp arrived and used an explosive pellet to shoot at Arlong to distract him. Then, when he had the chance, Zoro pulled out his swords to slash Arlong's nose, but it didn't cut. Arlong boasted that if Zoro were at full strength, he might have been able to leave a scratch. Then Arlong was about to use his nose to stab Zoro to death. but Luffy snatched Zoro from Arlong's hands. As the fight began, Luffy rushed in to punch Arlong as he'd been waiting a long time. But that punch only managed to make Arlong angrier. Then Arlong used his jaws to chase and bite Luffy, and Arlong's jaws were very strong, able to bite through a stone pillar. But Luffy's fists were even stronger, because at that moment, Luffy was able to punch Arlong and break all his teeth. It was surprising because Arlong's teeth broke and grew back instantly. In fact, according to the nature of sharks, their teeth can regrow throughout their lives, but not instantly like Arlong's. It takes at least a week. Then Arlong pulled out 2 sets of his teeth to use as weapons against Luffy. After fighting for a while, Luffy managed to snatch 1 set of Arlong's teeth and wear them himself. A moment later, Luffy was able to use those teeth to bite Arlong back. Besides teeth, Arlong also used his nose as a weapon. Then Arlong went into the water to get stronger and flew out to chase Luffy, who was on land. To defend, Luffy used his fingers to create a net to protect himself and also to attack Arlong. At this point, Arlong was extremely angry and pulled out his special big sword that looked like a saw blade. Then Arlong used that sword to chase and cut Luffy from the bottom floor up to the top floor, into a room full of maps that Nami had drawn. The reason Arlong needed Nami to draw maps was because he wanted to conquer the world. Geographical maps would help him win wars. But Luffy didn't care what he wanted. What Luffy saw was that all this work meant Arlong had enslaved Nami for 8 years. At that moment, Luffy was so angry that he destroyed all the work. Arlong was also extremely angry and grabbed Luffy to bite him. But Luffy didn't give up. He grabbed Arlong's nose, twisted it, and then used his Gum Gum battle axe to stomp Arlong through all the floors from top to bottom. Finally, in the battle on land, Luffy won, and Arlong's house, called Arlong Park, was destroyed. In the end, Luffy's crew successfully liberated the Kakoyasi villagers to freedom, free from Arlong's tyranny. After that, one story ends, and another begins. At that moment, the corrupt marine captain named Nezumi arrived. He demanded to confiscate all of Arlong's treasures in the house for himself. But it's not clear what he was thinking, because at that moment, his entire marine unit was beaten up by Zoro. Not only that, Nami added another blow to Nezumi to avenge him for shooting Nijiko. At that moment, Nami demanded that Nezumi return her money and forbade him from touching any of Arlong's treasures, because it belonged to the Kakoyasi villagers. After that, the Kakoyasi villagers held a 3-day and 3-night party to celebrate the day they regained their freedom. At that time, Luffy didn't care about anything except eating. As for Nami, she went to a doctor to have her tattoo removed and got a new one. On the last night, they all drank until they passed out, and no one could get up. The next day, they set off on their journey again. Johnny and Yasaku didn't go with them. The 2 of them continued their work as bounty hunters. Then the scene cuts to a large marine headquarters where high-ranking officials were meeting about Luffy. At that time, they set a bounty on Luffy's head, 30 million berries, which was a very high amount, even higher than Arlong's. This meant that if any bounty hunter could capture or kill Luffy, they would receive a reward of 30 million berries. From that moment on, Luffy's wanted poster was distributed everywhere to hunt him down. Those who knew Luffy before were not scared or worried about him. Instead, they all celebrated, praised, and admired him. Among them, Shanks, Luffy's idol, also received this news, and he was very proud of Luffy. As for Luffy's crew, they weren't any different. They were very happy to be famous. They didn't care that famous people have many people trying to kill them. Thank you all for watching this story with me. If you think this story is good, please don't forget to like and comment. And I would like to ask those who haven't subscribed to the Monokoronai channel yet to please subscribe and don't forget to click the bell icon and select all. Thank you again. I wish you good health and a bright future.